go then. So this is the Oz report for January 20th, 2024. And we're going to start with a new section. As you guys know, last week I did a pack tier list in the new Eden store and the EVE Online store, the Real Money store, and I've been analyzing the packs. And so I figured every time there's a new pack coming out in either of those stores, I'm going to talk about it quickly on the Oz report so you guys can see if it's worth buying. And today, one of the things that we see in both the online and the website and the in-game client store is the War Clone Deployment Omega. This is 14 days of Omega time for 250 Plex or $9.99. Now, as I said earlier on the stream, for $9.99, you can also get the Bronze Starter Pack. So if you haven't bought that yet, then I recommend that instead, because it's the much better value if you are playing EVE Online and care about skill points. If you do want that flexibility and you've already bought the Bronze Pack, then do consider buying the Fleet, the Weekend Fleet Pack. If that also gets taken out of the offering during the playtest, as apparently I just learned it was last time, then this becomes an okay deal if you just want to play it. But watch out, this is 250 Plex over here in the in the New Eden store, and the Bronze Starter Pack here is actually 350 Plex. So in the New Eden store online, it's a better deal than in the Real Cash store offline. All right. That's just a quick public service announcement on the new packs. Let's jump in and talk about the markets in EVE Online. And we start, as always, with the Plex and Plex adjacent items. So large skill injectors, they are rising again. So again, we're seeing the medium moving average cross the short-term moving average. So that's a good, the other way around, the short-term trend moving crossing the long-term trend or the medium-term trend. So we are seeing a rise here quite significantly. So there's demand for skill points out there, which is interesting because overall we still have a very positive profit on skill farming, so you wouldn't necessarily expect that. One reason for this, though, is skill extractors. Skill extractors are rising in price significantly, and we've covered this several times over the last few weeks, but it's just shown that this is a very, very robust market. We've had several times where we had massive sales. This drops all the way down sub 400, and we always get back to 500. So next time, don't hesitate in buying them. And then we have Plex, which is still holding fairly steady at 5 million. So overall, steady Plex, rising skill extractors, rising skill injectors. So the overall skill farming profit is fairly steady at 700 million per account per month. All right, so in a year, that's about 8.5 billion. Talking about the Cerebral Accelerator, so specifically the Master at Arms Cerebral Accelerator, this is a really good deal. And as I said the last few weeks, it's still, it's holding strong around 80 million average split. And so I think this is a very good price for it. In the long term, I expect this still to rise in price rather than drop in price, especially now that large skill injectors are getting a bit more expensive. All right. Now, let's jump into the Oz report. And overall, I want to have a quick look at our overall market dashboard, because there are some categories that are just very, very peculiar this week. For one, we have a 7.5% drop in ancient salvage materials. So these are coming back down from all the events that were using a lot of T3Cs to run them, especially during the Christmas event and the Halloween event. So still coming from a very high plateau, now 7.5% down, which is massive. That will mean in the long run, we're going to see T3Cs, so strategic cruisers coming back down in price. And so that's something you should know if you are in these markets, either holding the advanced salvage materials or if you're in the market to buying or selling strategic cruisers or even tactical destroyers. The other thing that is big is abyssal materials. We've been talking about them the last few weeks. They were very, very, very expensive. You can see here they're trading 38% over yearly average. That's quite massive. They have turned around though. They have started dropping a lot. One reason for that being that now that the events are over, there are a lot more people running abyssal space again, and abyssal space is the source for these, and so the supply is going up, the prices are going down. So you can expect also what we'll see when we're looking at the items right now. You can see finally in a week or two, you're going to see Triglavian ships dropping in price again if everything stays like this. On the Plex and everything else, everything is steady or slightly rising. Interestingly enough, we have a almost 10% increase in Empire insignia drops. These are amazing. These are used in the LP stores, for example, to trade in for items. And some of the bigger ones, like for example the Imperial Navy General insignias, some of my favorite trade items, they have increased in price 10%, 20%, and this being fantastic trade items because there's always demand and always supply. I think a lot of traders are having a great time on these. I know our Delta fund made 20 billion just on Imperial Navy General insignia, so that's quite amazing. Ship prices are getting more expensive, but that's because raw material prices are getting more expensive, and modules also across the board getting quite expensive. So we're seeing the results of raw material price increases over the last weeks. Now, let's jump into the item specifics, all right? What's trending up this week? You can see here the two I mentioned right now, Federation Navy Fleet Colonel Insignia 1 and Imperial Navy General Insignia 2, up 25% and 31% respectively. That's a bunch, right? And then also, interestingly enough, we're seeing the Kikimora and the Nurgle here, and also the Light Entropic Disintegrator, all up 15 to 20%. And that's the result of the abyssal materials rising in price last week. And that's what I meant last week by, if you're looking at raw materials prices rising that steadily, and you know that there's a lot of demand on these ships, as there is. The Kikimora and the Nurgle, they're both quite popular ships, trading over 5 billion per day, then you can actually, it's a good investment and good speculation to look at the final materials where these are in, because producers, they're not immediately going to change their prices. They're going to change their prices steadily as these come out of the oven. So in the long run, this is always a good investment opportunity when you see raw material prices rising sharply. Now, watch out though, because as I just said, abyssal materials are coming back down in price. So you're going to see the Kikimora and the Nurgle come down in price very, very soon as well. Let's have a look at what's trending down. Overall, we're seeing some random stuff that just had been trading highly. Some mycosarosin gas here, not because gas overall is getting cheaper, it's really just rising in price as well. But amber mycosarosin just had been very expensive and just equaling out a little bit. Other than that. Megasite down 15%. That's pretty significant, but most of these just are normalizing from spikes. I want to quickly talk about things that are in short supply. We talked about this earlier on stream. Megathrons. Right? If we actually go into the game and we look at the Megathron. Right here on the graph, it doesn't look like it has spiked all that much, but you can see here, if you look at the actual orders, there are no Megathrons left in GDA 4.4. The cheapest one is 550 million, and overall there's only 4 left. So super interesting that Megathrons have just been completely bought out. Definitely good opportunity to make them, to sell them, whatever, but expect there to to be a quick resupply, because it's not very difficult for many producers to pump out a lot of these, right? It just takes some time. So obviously somebody's having a fun Megathron field, or somebody's rolling a lot of wormholes apparently. Large scale injectors and Plex on the short supply side, not interesting. They're always there. So is the Gila. That's not because there's little supply there. That's just because the daily trade volume is so huge, and the supply and it is super. A super quick turnaround market, super liquid market. So these are always in the list. Interestingly, though, the Dracovac, for example, another Triglavian ship, right? Another one that has risen in price. It has risen in price slowly but steadily, and now it apparently has been either bought out or steadily dripped out. We can actually look at what that looks like on Adam for Eve here. I've prepared that in the back. You can see right here. The light blue is the build price. So over the last 3 or 4 weeks, you can see here how the build price has steadily increased because abyssal materials have increased a lot. That's the main cost, the main part of the cost of a Dracovac, and so prices here are not surprisingly they're increasing, but the drop in supply is rather sudden. So we had the green line right here shows that in the middle of December there was still 200 Dracovacs left in the market, and now they're basically gone. There's less than 10% of that out there. So lots of people buying Megathrons, lots of people buying Dracovacs. The other thing that is in very, very, very short supply is enhanced ward consoles. Right? Enhanced ward consoles are salvage materials, and I've also prepared that here just to show you what you can use some of these Adam for Eve tools for. So if you see enhanced ward consoles spiking in price, I can show you in the game here. If you look at these, like absolute huge spike in the pricing of enhanced ward consoles from few months ago, 4 million to now 6.5 million for a super high volume item, right? So you ask yourself, what that's very strange. So what is this item used for? If you're wondering, you can go to Adam for Eve and you can look at their tool called Material Influence, and if you put in enhanced ward consoles here, you can see that the item that it goes into with the highest trade volume is the medium core defense field extender 2, so rigs, and then you also have some structure rigs here. In terms of the highest total cost are some moon drilling structure rigs. So apparently lots of demand there. If you then want to know, is this an increase in demand or an increase in supply, and what's happening to the amount of orders out there, you can clearly see here on the green line on Adam for Eve here, the green line is the number available. So whereas half a year there was 10,000 available in the market, it has steadily dropped to down here just a few thousand. So there's no supply left in the market. There's clearly more demand, as you see on the red line here. There's more buy orders and less sell orders out there, and price has spiked accordingly. So there's less of these being salvaged, more of them being bought, and so enhanced ward console is definitely a very, very interesting tool item to look at this week. Gonna wrap up here quickly with the Praxis. We talk about the Praxis a lot, but I just got to say this has passed the 200 million mark again. And if you want, there's no easier money-making item out there in EVE Online, right? The Praxis is giving out once a year for free to every Omega account holder. And you can see here that that's obviously during Capsuleer Day in May, because that's when the price drops from 200 million to about 160 million. At least that was a drop this year, about 20%. And since then, it just has steadily increased. And guess what? It's going to steadily increase a little bit more. And then it's going to be dropping back down in May. So if you have capital left in May, or you want to save up, then you wait till then, you buy some Praxis, and it's just a good investment always. Let's finish today with the underpriced items. Interestingly enough, we still have agency Pyrolansia dose 1 here, for example. It's a high volume item. It's been dropping since because of all the events that have been happening. And now there isn't an event going on for a few weeks or months. So right now it should be rising again. So it's a good investment. Broadcast nodes is a P4 PI item. Also very cheap right now. Good investment in my point of view. Caldari Navy Admiral Insignia 1s. Earlier I talked to you about insignias that are very expensive right now. This is one that is highly traded but very cheap right now. Caldari Navy Admiral Insignia 1s. I think it's a very good buy right now. Then we have, a few Dead Space items here that are good value. Platinum, I'm not so sure about. I've been betting on that horse for so long that it's just not happening. Worms are cheaper now because their blueprint is in the Zarzak LP store or whatever that is called, the pirate faction specific LP store from the Havoc expansion. And Zydrine overall is the most undervalued basic mineral right now. So if you just want to invest big in something, Zydrine, I think it's a good bet. Okay, that's the Oz report for January 20th, 2024. And we're going to return to the regular stream. And if you're listening to this on YouTube or on the podcast, then I'll see you next week.